When a writer writes a story, they must create characters and find a way for those characters to develop a relationship between each other. Also, the readers must let those characters come to life within their imagination. Through this process, there becomes a relationship developed between the author and the readers. This is what has happened with the series of novels called Twilight by Stephenie Meyer. There is a large fan base, following, and number of readers who are all people who have had to develop some sort of relationship with Stephenie Meyer. The particular novel I will be reading is called Midnight Sun. It was written in 2008 by Stephenie Meyer. It's not as popular as the other novels, and there is a male protagonist named Edward, rather than the standard female protagonist named Bella. In this particular scene in Midnight Sun, Bella has found some information out about Edward, and she is trying to confront him about that information. Edward is driving a car, and Bella is the passenger, and they have just finished going out to dinner. It is from Edward's perspective, and him and Bella are having a dialogue. She looked down, struggling with some internal dilemma. Suddenly she stiffened and her eyes flew wide open. Fear flashed across her face for the first time. "Holy crow!" she gasped. I panicked. What had she seen? How had I frightened her? Then she shouted, "Slow down!" "What's wrong?" I didn't understand where her terror was coming from. "You're going 100 miles an hour!" she yelled at me. She flashed a look out the window and recoiled from the dark trees racing past us. This little thing, just a bit of speed, had her shouting in fear. I rolled my eyes. "Relax, Bella." "Are you trying to kill us?" she demanded, her voice high and tight. "We're not going to crash," I promised her. She sucked in a sharp breath and then spoke in a slightly more level tone. "Why are you in such a hurry?" "I always drive like this." I met her gaze, amused by her shocked expression. "Keep your eyes on the road," she shouted. "I've never been in an accident, Bella. I've never even gotten a ticket." I grinned at her and touched my forehead. It made it even more comical, the absurdity of being able to joke with her about something so secret and strange. "Built-in radar detector." "Very funny," she said sarcastically, her voice more frightened than angry. "Charlie's a cop, remember? I was raised to abide by traffic laws. Besides, if you turn us into a Volvo pretzel around a tree trunk, you can probably just walk away." "Probably," I repeated, and then laughed without humor. Yes, we would fare quite differently in a car accident. She was right to be afraid, despite my driving abilities. But you can't. With a sigh, I let the car drift to a crawl. "Happy?" She eyed the speedometer. "Almost." Was this still too fast for her? "I hate driving slow," I muttered, but let the needle slide down another notch. "This is slow?" she asked. "Enough commentary on my driving," I said impatiently. How many times had she dodged my question now? 3 times? 4? Were her speculations that horrific? I had to know, immediately. "I'm still waiting for your latest theory." She bit her lip again and her expression became upset, almost pained. I reined in my impatience and softened my voice. I didn't want her to be distressed. "I won't laugh," I promised, wishing that it only embarrassment that made her unwilling to talk. "I'm more afraid that you'll be angry with me," she whispered. I forced my voice to say even. "Is it that bad?" "Pretty much, yeah." She looked down, refusing to meet my eyes. The seconds passed. "Go ahead," I encouraged. Her voice was small. "I don't know how to start." "Why don't you start at the beginning?" I remembered her words before dinner. "You said you didn't come up with this on your own?" "No," she agreed, and then was silent again. I thought about things that might have inspired her. "What got you started? A book? A movie?" I should have looked through her collections when she was out of the house. I had no idea if Bram Stoker or Anne Rice was there in her stack of worn paperbacks. "No," she said again. "It was Saturday at the beach." I hadn't expected that. The local gossip about us had never strayed into anything too bizarre or too precise. Was there a new rumor I'd missed? Bella peeked up from her hands and saw the surprise on my face. "I ran into an old family friend, Jacob Black," she went on. "His dad and Charlie have been friends since I was a baby." Jacob Black. The name was not familiar, and yet it reminded me of something, some time, long ago. I stared out of the windshield, flipping through memories to find the connection. "His dad is one of the Culete elders," she said. Jacob Black. Ephraim Black! A descendant, no doubt. It was as bad as it could get. She knew the truth. My mind was flying through the ramifications as the car flew around the dark curves in the road, my body rigid with anguish, motionless except for small automatic actions took to steer the car. She knew the truth. But if she learned the truth Saturday, then she'd known it all evening long. And yet... "We went for a walk," she went on, "and he was telling me about some old legends, trying to scare me, I think. He told me one." She stopped short, but there was no need for her qualms now. I knew what she was going to say. The only mystery left was why she was here with me now. "Go on," I said. "About vampires." She breathed the words less than a whisper. Somehow it was even worse than knowing that she knew, hearing her speak the word aloud. I flinched at the sound of it and then controlled myself again. "And you immediately thought of me?" I asked. "No, he mentioned your family." How ironic that it would be Ephraim's own progeny that would violate the treaty he vowed to uphold. A grandson or great-grandson, perhaps. How many years had it been? 70? I should have realized that it was not the old men who believed in the legends that would be the danger. Of course the younger generation, those who would have been warned, but would have thought the ancient superstitions laughable. Of course that was where the danger of exposure would lie. I suppose this meant I was now free to slaughter the small defenseless tribe on the coastline where I so inclined. Ephraim and his pack of protectors were long dead. "He just thought it was silly superstition," Bella said suddenly, her voice edged with a new anxiety. "He didn't expect me to think anything of it." Out of the corner of my eye I saw her twist her hands uneasily. "It was my fault," she said after a brief pause, and then she hung her head as if she were ashamed. "I forced him to tell me." "Why?" It wasn't so hard to keep my voice level now. The worst was already done. As long as we spoke of the details of the revelation, we didn't have to move to the consequences of it. "Lauren said something about you. She was trying to provoke me." She made a little face at the memory. I was slightly distracted, wondering how Bella would be provoked by someone talking about me. "And an older boy from the tribe said your family didn't come to the reservation, only it sounded like he meant something different, so I got Jacob alone and I tricked it out of him." Her head dropped even lower as she admitted this, and her expression looked guilty. I looked away from her and laughed out loud. She felt guilty? What could she possibly have done to deserve censure of any kind? "Tricked him how?" I said. "I tried to flirt. It worked better than I thought it would," she explained, and her voice turned incredulous at the memory of that success. I could just imagine, considering the attention she seemed to have for all things male, totally unconscious on her part, how overwhelming she would be when she tried to be attractive. I was suddenly full of pity for the unsuspecting boy she'd unleash a potent force on. "I'd like to have seen that," I said, and then I laughed again with the black humor. I wish I could have heard the boy's reaction, witnessed the devastation for myself. "And you accuse me of dazzling people? Poor Jacob Black." I wasn't as angry with the source of my exposure as I would have expected to feel. He didn't know any better. And how could I expect anyone to deny this girl what she wanted? No, I only felt sympathy for the damage she would have done to his peace of mind. I felt her blush heat the air between us. I glanced at her, and she was staring out her window. She didn't speak again. "What did you do then?" I prompted. Time to get back to the horror story.